I am Dr. Beth Fisher, the Academic Dean here at St. Benedict at Auburndale, and I'm very proud to present the AP Capstone program. We are one of only 3 other schools in the entire Shelby County area to be accredited to offer this program, and the only private school in the city of Memphis. It is considered by most colleges and universities as the highest level of rigor in any high school.
It's kind of a class about making grown-up decisions.
Our teacher, Miss Sina, she always likes using the phrase that seminar makes us smarter consumers of information. My name is Erin Barjaki. I'm a senior at SBA, and I've gone here all 4 years. I really love this school. I'm involved in a lot of things here, which honestly has made my high school experience so much better.
We have such a great school spirit sort of thing. Everyone's really proud to be an SBA Eagle. My name is Elise Giles. I'm a senior at St. Benedict Auburndale. I serve as senior class president as well as president of the National Honor Society. I'm really involved here. I'm a senior retreat leader, student ambassador. I love SBA. I go to all the football games, all the basketball games.
I'm really big into academics. I take a lot of honors and AP classes. I really do like a lot of things here. I'm an SBA ambassador, I'm in Key Club, I'm in Mu Alpha Theta and a lot of other honor societies.
The college board, who's in charge of the AP program, was told from universities that students who are coming to college are not prepared. And we have to do something to fix that. They can't research, evaluate sources, think critically.
The college admissions officers were telling the college board that the students that they were getting were great on factual information, but not necessarily great on connecting dots, independent thinking, and more abstract thinking.
Are we doing different solutions for each one?
They came up with 2 brand new AP courses which are unique to the Capstone program. One in the junior year is AP Seminar, and then the senior year is AP Research.
He talked about obviously how good it would look for colleges, which was honestly one of the main reasons I probably did it. But then also, it just seemed like a fun class, like a discussion-based class, and I knew it would teach me a lot of really good skills for school and college.
Me kind of being in control of what I was learning about, and not only that, but being able to better my research skills sounded really interesting to me.
This is the perfect time to tear apart an argument. It's the practice. One thing that I learned this summer from the Institute is my instructor said that when he had students who had Capstone on their transcript, he had a couple of students who were applying to Ivy League schools, and the admissions counselor said as soon as they saw Capstone on the application, they were pushed to the next round.
From a very, very practical sense, it will allow them to check a box on their Common App to colleges, which is a big deal. It sounds like to us it's just a check, but to the admissions officer, that one check conveys a lot of information about the student. I see a unique perspective because I see them in this class and then I see them in college because I still teach college. And the students who are most successful are the ones who have developed independent thinking, independent work habits, etc., and are self-motivated.
They have to be able to evaluate sources, know if there's a bias, know if there's a vested interest.
Maybe not the reporter, but who does the reporter work for? Who paid to have that study done? And there have been a lot of times when I've heard things on TV or on the news, recently, and it's made me think, is that really how it happened?
We have 2 major tasks, Task 1 and Task 2 with AP Seminar, but as soon as we start those, I, as the instructor, am not allowed to answer direct, specific questions anymore. That's a little intimidating as the instructor, but also for the students, especially some of these students I've had for years, and they say, so I'm going to ask you a specific question and you can't answer it, and I can't. And the whole point of that is, and the whole thinking behind it is, at some point, they have to be able to figure things out themselves.
So if we wanted to go up and say, hey, Miss Sina, is this a good research question? She can't tell us. She will just say, look at the rubric, and we have to figure it out for ourselves. So I remember she told us that in the first week of school, and it was a little scary because we were like, oh, cool, we're going to be left alone.
See what works, see what doesn't work.
And it's actually interesting she was instructed to tell all of the other teachers, like especially English teachers, they can't help us either. So I couldn't go to my English teacher and say, hey, is this a good research question? They aren't allowed to help us at all.
Take this opportunity to fail, young people.
And it really has helped me a lot with all of my other classes too, where I have to like maybe write a research paper.
We had an assignment not too long ago called an annotated bibliography. And it's where you kind of look at the credibility of sources. And as I was doing that, I was just thinking to myself, like how much I'd improved on just being able to read sources and like analyze them, and just how prepared I felt for college, really, because it's scary to think of all the papers and classes I'll be in next year, but I really do feel more prepared because of AP seminars.
Before this year, I'd never made an annotated bibliography, and then in my English class I actually just made one, which really helped since I'd already made one in seminar.
One major thing that we do with AP Seminar is we look at subjects through lenses and perspectives, and you can actually teach the course through a myriad of subjects.
The goal is for really us to be able to say how all the lenses overlap, and how everything runs full circle, and that'll lead us to find a more complete solution.
In seminar, it's all about like perspectives and lenses, because you need to look at an issue from like all different sides. Otherwise, it's a very one-sided argument and it's very weak. So we all took a different lens, so economic, political, ethical, scientific, lenses like that, and then looked at the perspectives within those lenses, like pro or con, whatever our issue was. And so while we did our individual research and we all put it together at the end, the success of the project hinges on reading, actually looking at other people's work and incorporating it into your own to make one big presentation.
It has to be something that is current. It has to be something that's timely and of interest to them.
We decided to do the topic of euthanasia, whether or not it should be legalized, and if so, like what regulations should be put in place.
Well, for my group project, we did the opioid crisis in America.
So they spend a year delving into some topic that they're interested in.
The opioid crisis is so interesting. Like, we learned how it really relates from prescription drugs going on to street drugs. Like 4 out of 5 heroin users began with a prescription drug addiction. So yeah, there's all sorts of like interesting things that I've learned.
And I suspect that many of those research projects will turn into majors in college and jobs afterward.
Ever since I was little, I've kind of wanted to become a doctor. For some of the colleges I'm looking at, if I go into the honors college or when I'm in medical school, I'm going to have to write a thesis and do this massive research paper. So that's preparing me really well for that.
They have to come up with a research question, and they have to have a solution. They have to propose a solution, but you can't propose a solution without exhausting all of the lenses and all of the perspectives to fully know a subject before you just throw out a solution. And you can say, this is not going to be the best solution for everyone, but it is the best overall solution.
You have your solution, but also you need to be able to turn back on yourself and look at what are the problems in our argument. Because if you don't address what the problems are, then at the end, someone else is going to find those problems and your argument's going to fall apart.
Another thing I looked at was how in rural areas there's a lack of physical therapy. So doctors are forced to resort to opioid prescriptions because there's not alternative methods to pain reduction. So yeah, it was interesting to look at things that maybe instead of limiting prescriptions in rural areas, we add physical therapy.
We have to sell them on the merits of the program, and that's difficult to do that to a freshman age student, to tell them how great this is going to be for their college and career, because to them that's 100 years from now. But the nature of the program is such that if you don't start taking an AP class your sophomore year, it's very difficult to meet the requirements of the Capstone program.
Ever since doing the project, it's funny how more often the topic has come up and I've been able to address it with an informed opinion.
I'm in Bridge Builders, which is this big organization that's dedicated to forming young leaders. We narrowed it down and picked a hot topic, I guess you could say, that's happening right now. And we ended up talking about domestic terrorism and the Second Amendment. And sitting there, I thought it was really interesting because bridge builders come from kind of like how the motto says, all different types of socioeconomic backgrounds and things like that. And so it really made me realize that with the good education that SBA has given me, especially with the AP seminar, like when we were talking about the issue, I had absolutely no problem like discussing it or forming a good argument, whereas other people, like they were still arguing, but maybe their points weren't as strong or like as strong as some of my peers were here at SBA. And I thought that was really interesting.
Another cool part about the class, though, is that it's juniors and seniors, and it's like a really diverse group of students. Like we all have different interests, which I thought was cool. And there's definitely some juniors that like I would have never met like if we weren't in this class, but I've like become good friends with some of them, so that's cool.
We had a joke that one of the questions was like really formal because it's like, what about your colleagues' report did you like? So, I mean, it's kind of true though, like rather than just being peers, like it's colleagues, which is really more official, but that's what seminar is. It really takes you out of the high school environment, and it really did feel very professional even when it was just a practice. So I'm sure when the real thing comes around, it's going to be really official, and we're even talking about doing it outside of school and like dressing up nice for it. So really it does prepare you a lot for life.